Hello and welcome to yet another segment of Ask the Expert. With me, my name is Mahwadi. I am a counselor at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And today we are unpacking an incredibly important topic that impacts a lot of people in South Africa, both young and old. To help us with unpacking, our big topic for today is Dr. Lene Grobner, and our topic of discussion today is the impact of unemployment on mental health. Dr. Lene, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mukhali. It's nice to be here.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, today we are going to be speaking about unemployment and the huge toll that it usually has on the people that are going through it, not only them, their loved ones as well, because it takes a toll on families, it takes a toll on children and on the breadwinners themselves. So why does unemployment take such a massive toll on our mental health?
Yes, it's such an important topic, as you have said, especially with the unemployment rate being so high in South Africa. So I think it's very relevant, and it's such an awesome opportunity to have this topic discussed on SADAG's Friday experts session. And the thing is, it really has a high toll on mental health because work, in fact, shapes our identities. It, in a way, defines who we are. I mean, if you meet someone new for the first time, we often ask, "So, what do you do? What do you do in life? You know, where are you working?" So those are kind of first questions that one usually asks. And there's a sense of self that we get in our work, connects us to a bigger purpose in an organization. Also being like a provider for your family. And then, like you said, you know, the family then also suffers if the breadwinner or somebody significant in the family does not provide. So having meaningful work brings a sense of purpose. If you have work, you feel motivated, you feel engaged, you know, you offer a service or a skill that you are rewarded for. There's a sense of purpose in that. So then the opposite is also true. If you do not have work, the sense of self is impacted. The worth that you feel impacts your worth. Also, our needs are not met, which then leads to suffering, which impacts mental health.
Totally agree with everything that you've said. You've touched on very important points in there. The fact that your work gives you a sense of purpose, it helps you form your own identity because these are some of the things that you mention when you are introducing yourselves in private spaces and, you know, even in public spaces. Now, when you no longer have that, which forms part of your identity, that which gives you structure, it can be incredibly difficult, you know, for you to even form some sort of meaning about your life, you know, which is why today's topic is very, very important. The next question that I have is just about some of the daily habits that we can use to try and manage stress and anxiety, especially when we find ourselves during that phase of job hunting. What are some of the things that we really can do in our own spaces at home to try and cope with stress and anxiety?
Yes, that's an important question because the thing is, when someone is job hunting, it's kind of there's a lack of structure. And that is exactly the one habit that I will encourage, and that is to stick to a routine, to have some kind of structure, such as getting up as if you're getting up for work, getting dressed, and then going to work. Your work now, the person's work now is just job searching or job hunting. And it will be good to have a specific dedicated space at home where this person can go and sit down and prepare for job searching, whether it is preparing CVs or doing some kind of skill upgrade, but just to stick to that routine. To manage stress and anxiety during such a time is quite a challenge because it comes and goes. You know, you feel hopeful because you have applied for a position, you really feel this is your opportunity, and then it goes by and you hear nothing. or you send out application after application just to hear nothing. So for me, really just to get that safe space with a trusted person with whom you can talk and just share some of those anxieties. Another aspect that can really help is to do something physical in terms of well-being, looking after your own health, and the impact of the stress on a person's health, walking, just leading a healthy life, and to do something to improve yourself. So whilst you are waiting, perhaps improve your skills with some other kind of course. There's so many, we're going to talk about a bit later, free courses that one can do, and not to isolate, just to keep connected with family, with friends. Even on job hunting sites such as LinkedIn, they have such wonderful connections that one can make.
Amazing. I think what stood out for me in what you've just said is that continuous improvement, continuous learning, because sometimes we overlook the big impact that unemployment has on you. So when you are sitting at home, no longer practicing the skills that you may have acquired so many years ago, your knowledge and your know-how sort of like dwindles. So when you now start applying some ways of managing that level of dwindling and managing that decline in your skills or in your know-how by reaching out to places that offer free courses, these places can be found online, or even certain colleges may be able to assist you with some free courses. So that helps you remain on the same level with the rest of your peers, in as much as, yes, you are unemployed at that time, but then you allowing yourself the opportunity to continuously learn and grow and also remain competitive in the job market as well. So I absolutely love that. I also enjoy what you said about having a structure for your life. The same routine that you would have when you are employed. Try to incorporate it when you are not employed as well, because it gives your life some sort of structure that helps you with just channeling your day so that the day doesn't run away from you. Because if you are sitting at home, it's easier for the day to run away from you. Okay, you can decide, okay, I'm going to start applying at 10, but with maybe, internet and scrolling and social media and all of that, it's very much easier for you to get sidetracked. So thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing those very easy tips, because they're so easy, so relatable, and people can actually do that to help themselves in their journey of trying to get some work.
Absolutely. Mahari, what you're saying, I just want to reiterate, is stay in the competitive edge.
Yeah.
There's so many free courses, just upskill the whole time. That adds to your self-worth, also to feel that I am staying at the forefront of developing myself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can never, there's not such a thing, such as too much. Like
Yeah,
you are,
learning too
yeah,
much.
you can never know too much. Knowledge is power. I think the next question that I have is, how do we handle imposter syndrome when we're applying for jobs? When I have been out of the job market for a good 3 years or a good 5 years, there is a lot that has been happening, in the job environment, in workspaces that I may not know of. So imposter syndrome is most likely to kick in when I'm now maybe applying for a job or even being called for an interview, because I may think I do not know enough, or there has been a lot of changes and a lot of updates in my sector that I'm not aware of. And I believe that a lot of that can actually be addressed by the continuous learning that we are now encouraging people to really apply. But imposter syndrome is something that kicks in even for the best of people. How do we now encourage people, or how would we advise people to handle imposter syndrome, especially when they are in the process of trying to get a job?
Yes, absolutely. It's such a real experience, sitting at home and feeling like you're missing out. Also, I want to add to that FOMO, fear of missing out. Everybody else is going to work and they are out there, you know, busy with things, whilst this person is sitting at home and missing out. And then absolutely, imposter syndrome is a real effect and a real cause. That persistent self-doubt, the inability to believe that your success is deserved, despite this person's competence, and then obviously not having success, even so much more. Imposter syndrome can be a risk. And what we found is in research is that up to 70% of people face this phenomenon, even those working. Sitting at work feeling like somebody's going to catch you out and ask you, do you know what you're doing? Even I've heard this with managers and CEOs even. So much more, someone sitting at home, job searching, having that self-doubt, limiting their career aspirations. And in the end, they can even sabotage their chances of landing a job. So for me, the most important thing I always tell someone when I experience them facing imposter syndrome is a lie. It is an absolute lie, because it wants to pull you down and tell you you're not good enough, that self-doubt. And in the end, it leads to destructive behavior where someone lands in a fearful situation. So just to try and replace it with truth. Because it can be a stumbling block, a roadblock in this person's job hunt. So typical cognitive behavioral strategies work well. So if someone says, for example, I don't belong here, or this job is not for me, is to try and replace it with the truth, as I say, in terms of, but I'm learning and growing. I'm just starting off, but I'm getting there. Or I believe in my skills. I have been working hard and I am doing my bit. So this lie of you don't belong here, or this job is for somebody else, it's not for you, that is a lie, and to replace it with a truth. Also, to combat this, what can help is to prepare well for interviews. If it is something that the person has landed an interview, prepare well with a trusted friend, read up, just work on those skills of self-confidence. And then really to talk about it, not to keep it bottled up, because someone can really sit and suffer in silence, feeling like, they should not be there in this position. Somebody else is more worthy, and to talk about that specific life.
Amazing. You are sharing such practical tips that are so easy to do. Positive self-talk is an amazing tool that people can utilize, to try and uplift the confidence that they have in themselves and to help them believe in their own capabilities. Because it's very normal for us to feel a little bit discouraged and feel a little bit unequipped, especially if we have not been exposed for such a very long time to maybe workspaces and to employment and to the new developments in our different sectors. So definitely positive self-talk, positive affirmations, incredibly, an incredible way of actually getting you to learn to be confident and to believe in yourself once more. So I totally, totally love that. And then there is also a downside, to these things, because you will apply for a job because you have now worked on your imposter syndrome and you believe in yourself and you land the interview. Okay. But unfortunately, things don't go as expected and you don't get the job. So you start receiving some rejection letters, some rejection emails. So, how do we make people feel hopeful when they have been rejected by prospective employers? And with in mind the fact that we apply to so many jobs. So 100 applications can be equal to 100 rejections. How do I remain hopeful if I've been rejected so many times by employers, despite me working to put myself relevant, to keep myself relevant rather in the job market, and to also be confident and work on my weaknesses like the imposter syndrome, for example?
Yes, it's a very relevant question, because what we we want to do is to tell this person, don't lose hope. You know, the right job, this is not for you. The right job is just around the corner. And in the end, that kind of just adds to a person's helplessness and hopelessness. So I want to caution against almost trying to encourage someone, encouraging someone. Rather, for me, what I find what is better is to acknowledge and to reflect that. You know, I can imagine you are feeling hopeless, helpless, rejected. I really can imagine that this is what you're feeling. And I think it's a normal response because you were rejected. And it's not nice to be rejected. And to normalize in a way, you know, kind of just talking to it to say, no, but this sucks. I'm so sorry you're going through this. For me, that's real. That's a real response. When we want to encourage someone, now it's almost like wanting to encourage someone who's waiting for their life partner. There's a lot of fishes in the sea. You know, you just wait, the next one will come along. That does not help at all. So just to encourage them in a sense of acknowledging what you're seeing and what you're hearing, almost sitting with them in their misery, if I can call it that, for a while, and then start by encouraging them by reminding them of who they are, you know, speaking into their self-worth, speaking against self-doubt, to tell them, you know what, I admire you for just keeping on and pressing in. And I'm sure you want to give up hope, but for me, what I see in you is this and this and this um, characteristics or skills, or what stands out for you in this person. That for me creates better encouragement.
We have mentioned earlier that there is such a big ripple effect that comes with unemployment. It not only impacts the person that is unemployed themselves, their family members are also impacted. Um, what are some of the early warning signs that family members can look out for towards a person who's unemployed? Those warning signs that would show us that the unemployment is now impacting on their mental health, and how can we address them?
Yes. Well, the early, that's definitely relevant because someone can start losing hope and start developing a low mood. Changes in their mood is something that you can definitely look out for. The persistent sadness or irritability, even. Someone who might have enjoyed certain activities now, they don't enjoy that anymore. Changes in sleep and appetite is definitely one. Difficulty sleeping or wanting to sleep excessively the whole time, wanting to eat more or less. Even alcohol abuse, taking more alcohol can be a red flag. And then social withdrawal, so someone who's isolating themselves from friends, from family, social situations, and really having difficulty concentrating. So almost like they're giving up hope. They don't want to make decisions. They don't remember where they have put things. Those are kind of the red flags that I will look out for.
Right. And in terms of addressing those red flags, what can we do?
I think the most important aspect for me would be to inquire from the person. How are you doing? How are you feeling? I'm seeing this and this. You know, I saw that you once enjoyed cooking for us and now you don't do that anymore. Speak to me, talk to me. How are you feeling? You know, just to get a sense of where the person is. And obviously, then you would like to link them to some professional help. And there are, I mean, all the free lines that they can consult for professional help, counseling, guidance, support. And then what's important also is self-care. So to promote that well-being, to support them in looking after their own health, that would also be an important aspect.
Thank you for sharing that. What ways can we set healthy boundaries between job searching and personal time? Because yes, I'm currently unemployed, but there should be a boundary that exists between my own personal time and some job searching time. So this is to help me avoid burnout. What are some of the things that I can do to establish those lines of boundary to say, this is now my me time? You know, this is my time with family. This is my time for me to replenish my energies.
Yeah. Well, I think what's important, relating back to the first question, is to really tell yourself your job now is job hunting, and to set that structure and that routine and that structure, that boundaries. So getting up in the morning, perhaps if you need to tend to the house, washing and dishes and so forth, to do that. But then to set time aside to sit down and do your work, which is job searching, and to communicate these boundaries with family and friends. And then that will also lead to the specific working hours, to say, let's say, between 10 and 12 or 10 and 1, this is my job hunting time. Or if you even want to go out and go and visit places and companies and so forth, that is like a specific working hour day. Also, what really helps is to have a separate space, workstation, even if it's the dining room table or your bedroom somewhere in a corner in the personal space away from where you would rest and recover. That will also help with setting boundaries.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, it's wonderful what just a
Mm.
little bit of structure can actually do, in
Yeah,
terms of tackling a huge problem, sort of like subdivide the problem into very small and manageable little problems that you can tackle each at the time. So that
yeah,
is incredibly amazing. Thank you for sharing that. We are wrapping up. The last question that I have for you is, what are some of the key job searching websites that you can recommend to unemployed people? I think this is very important so that people at
yeah,
least know where to go and how to as well. Because a lot of the times we assume that people know these things, but
yeah.
information, awareness, and conversations like this are actually what help in terms of equipping people and making sure that they are well informed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the one thing that comes to mind is LinkedIn, the one website or site. LinkedIn has that banner that you can also say open for job opportunities on your work. And I really want to encourage the listeners or those attending this station to create a professional LinkedIn profile. You have studied, you have some experience, create a nice professional profile. Future employers really do consult LinkedIn profiles, even Facebook, and to avoid or to really be cautious of what you place on social media, because they also look at that. Just a side note. Other sites, PNet, one of I think the third or fourth position among job and career websites in South Africa. And depending on the trade and the skill, I would say Jobmail, Careers 24. I also know about Indeed.com. They are ranked quite high nowadays as a career website in South Africa. Um, Yeah, and what I see on local media, in Potchefstroom, so on the Facebook page, Potchefstroom Facebook page, people will post job opportunities there as well. So in your local town, perhaps join the group there, place an ad to say, I'm open for work, these are my skills, just so that it's out there, that the words is spreading, that's what you are looking for and your skills that you can provide.
Great, great. And LinkedIn is such a great networking tool.
Mm.
So you don't just put yourself out there as somebody who's looking for work, but you also communicate with
Yeah,
hiring managers, with potential employers, with
yeah,
people that work in HR. So it's such a great tool. And thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us today. And I hope that everyone who's at home will really take into consideration everything that has been shared today.
thank you so much, Mkhwari. Thank you for the invite. It was nice to
Yes.
be here.
We are now in conversation with the support group leader for a more touch on lived experiences of people who are struggling with unemployment currently. We are now chatting to Jitesh, who has a support group, an online support group for people who are struggling currently with unemployment. Welcome, Jitesh.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Amazing. As a support group leader, what kind of challenges do members often share about the link between unemployment and mental health?
Okay, so what I found was there's extreme financial challenges that actually the lack of it does not give the person the drive and desire to actually go for opportunities, and the opposite is true.
And of course, earlier on, we spoke about the ripple effect that exists in unemployed people's lives, because not only are the people themselves impacted, their families are very impacted as well. Because in as much as the people, yes, are unemployed at that time, they're still required to be maintained financially by someone. And this is now where family members come in. So financial constraints are a huge impact on the people that are unemployed. Now, what are some of the common emotions that come up for people who are struggling with unemployment in your support group specifically?
Okay, so I've seen extreme sadness as well as extreme frustration that they found they find themselves in this challenge, if you may call it, and yeah, it's like demotivating.
I mean, that's very sad to hear, but I'm really glad that your group exists, to cater for people who currently are struggling with that. So, in your support group, how does that group create a safe space for people to talk about both job searching and mental health?
Okay, so we constantly reaffirm that this is a safe space as well as a non-judgmental space, which every member can be themselves and share their struggles um, in the space. They are always
Absolutely.
encouraged.
Absolutely. So that reaffirmation by people who understand exactly what you are going through, people with the lived experience, it does a ton of good for one who currently is struggling. So I'm really glad that your group exists and that people are able to get the relevant support. Now, looking at the impact that happens, or that is being brought by being in a support group, what impact do you see when people connect with others who are going through a similar crisis or a similar experience?
Okay, so what I found was through stories, when members share with each other, something amazing happens. They actually feel inspired and motivated to reach out as well, and that's always amazing to see.
Yeah, so I am a big believer in that a problem shared is a problem halved. So I absolutely believe that when people connect with other people going through a similar experience, they are able to learn some tips in there, some better coping mechanisms, or even some creative coping mechanisms that are most likely to help them with the emotional buildup that comes as a result of them struggling with a particular thing. So, are there any practical tips or resources that come up often in the group that help members to stay motivated or maybe just to even cope with, being unemployed?
Okay, so I personally, as a facilitator, do constant checkup through polls and conversations. I share legit and verified job ads and other opportunities in the chat itself, and we help each other to apply for them if any member is struggling to do so. And I also share motivational content from a personal capacity as well. And we always have conversation on how to actually keep each other motivated and going forward.
It's amazing to hear. How can people benefit from joining a support group, specifically if they feel too anxious or too ashamed to talk about being unemployed?
Okay, so I think the greatest benefit is actually having the courage to reach out in the first place. I mean, that takes immense courage, a lot of courage actually. And what tends to happen when you do so? and when you connect with like-minded people, it gives you that boost, kind of that motivation now to be part of a community where someone can understand you and help you because now they can relate to your struggles.
I love that. Thank you so much. So we have come to the end of our conversation today, especially speaking about the lived experiences of people who currently are struggling with unemployment. Do you have any parting words for the viewers?
Okay. So unemployment is a very big and sensitive topic in our country. But I think that's just one part of that's part of the bigger problem. Unemployment is just a label. When we remove that label, we actually see things from a different perspective, and that shouldn't dampen us. I mean, not with the label. So when we remove our label, well, that label on us, we actually can see that everybody has the capacity as well as the skills and the resources to be part of the solution and create opportunities for themselves. So I would challenge every single job seeker out there to actually remove that label and feel how you feel and be in awareness of it. I guarantee you it'll actually shift your perspective and it'll motivate you more and actually inspire you.
Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was very easy, very practical. And I believe that a lot of people will be able to utilize those suggestions so that they are more empowered and feel a little bit confident, to continue with their journey of job seeking. So thank you so much, Jitesh, for giving us this opportunity to have this conversation with you and to share some nuggets of wisdom. So to everybody who wants to join GTES's support group or somebody who wants to speak to a counselor to get support for your mental health, or perhaps, for ways in which you could job seek in a better way, you're most welcome to call into any one of our helplines. You can call into the suicide crisis line on 0800-567-567, and a counselor is available 24/7 to assist you. Until we meet again for yet another segment of Ask the Expert. Have a lovely day further.